Lave radio. It's even louder than me. Wait a minute. That can't be right.
Mic check, 1 2 1 2.
Want to tour the frontier? Travel with Colmac Reeve and our new fleet of passenger starliners. We've opened up the universe for a range of budgets. Option 1, luxury.
My husband and I like to travel in comfort. The new luxury cabins were like a home away from home. After all, one's home is a castle.
Option 2, first class.
We'd saved up a bit for a really special trip. The first class cabins were like nothing we've travelled in before. Really luxurious.
Option 3, travel cabin.
We won a trip with Cormac Reeve's monthly lotto. A travel cabin for two on a starliner around the solar system. Once in a lifetime for us. Simply amazing.
Option 4, basic accommodation.
Me and my mates just wanted to hitch around the universe. It's so great that we have the option of getting a really cheap cabin to see the sights. It saved us loads.
And for the budget conscious and slaves, we have our cheapest option yet.
Well, I needed a...
And we won't sell any of those frozen passengers into slavery, I promise. Colmac Reeve's all-budget tours, seeing the galaxy from luxury to freezing tubes.
Choose life, choose a ship, choose a career, choose a cargo, choose a fucking big ship, choose palladium, gold and electrical tin openers. Choose good health, low cholesterol and ship insurance, choose fixed interest loan repayments, choose a space station, choose your friends. Choose leisure wear and matching luggage, choose a paint job and hire purchase in a range of fucking colours. Choose decals, exploration and wondering where the f*** you are on a Sunday morning. Choose sitting in that chair, running mind-numbing, spirit-crushing trade routes, stuffing f***ing junk food in your mouth. And choose rotting away at the end of it all, pissing your last in the void with no one out there to hear you, bury or do anything as you drift away in cold space. Until some comes along to steal your ship, your cargo and your clothes, leaving your bones floating out in space. Choose your future. Choose life. But why would I want to do a thing like that? I choose not to choose life. I chose something else. And the reasons? There are no reasons. Who needs reasons when you've got onion head?
Lave radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
Galnet News Digest, 9th of September 3307. We read the news so you don't have to. In this week's news, Torval Orbital, reassuringly expensive. Serious treaty to be revived. Acts. Torval Orbital, reassuringly expensive.
Following its recent win over Recon Construction, the new headquarters of Torval Mustopolis Mining has opened its doors in LTT 198. Situated in a picturesque spot near to a planetary ring, Torval Orbital is a well-appointed Orbis starport, with beautifully manicured lawns and fake lakes, and it wears its imperial origins proudly. Constantia Torval, daughter of Senator Zemina, will be managing the day-to-day operation of the new corporation, which has been set up after an unspecified rift between Torval and the Mustopolis dynasty, which is headed up by Mustopolis Mining's CEO Gabriella Mustopolis. It's not clear whether Senator Torval still holds a majority shareholding in the parent company, but members of the Mustopolis board have made scathing comments about Constantia Torval's business acumen, and CEO Gabriella has accused the new corporation of hijacking her company's name. The Torval dynasty seems to be establishing quite a presence within the empire. In addition to Constantia heading up the new corporation, Zemina's youngest daughter Petra has been appointed senator, and her grandson, Titus Torval, is one of the foremost names in the Imperial Internal Security Service. It seems likely that we'll be hearing more about the rift between Torval and Mustopolis in the coming months.
Serious treaty to be revived. Alliance Prime Minister Edmund Mann has claimed that there's still hope for Aegis despite the ongoing investigation. The Tri-Superpower Thargoid Research Organisation is being investigated amid allegations of operational irregularities and ineffectiveness following the loss of its megaship Alexandria on the 3rd of June. Chair of the Board of Inquiry, Paul Baumann, has not ruled out charges of criminal negligence, although there's little clarity about which court would hold jurisdiction over this Tri-Superpower organisation. Mann proposed a new cooperation agreement at the Galactic Summit in March. This serious treaty would have guaranteed Aegis proper funding, in keeping with Mann's belief that defence against the Thargoids should be humanity's greatest priority. The treaty negotiations were put aside after the 9 Martyrs bombings, but Mann says he's still trying to persuade President Hudson and Emperor Arissa of its importance. Unfortunately for Mann, and for Aegis, neither the federal nor imperial leader seems particularly interested. Acts.
The affiliated counter-terrorism unit says it has failed to track down bomb maker Theta 7 and warns that more starport bombings are likely. In the wake of the Marlinist civil war, which resulted in the loss of political representation for the NMLA, the new leaders of the Marlinism Reformation Party have given ACT valuable information which has led directly to the arrests of thousands of NMLA activists, the confiscation of hidden assets, and the breaking up of dozens of paramilitary cells. The lack of support for the NMLA candidate for the role of Prime Consul, the Civil War, and the death of former political leader Aaron White have all led to a weakening of the position of the NMLA in the Marlinist colonies. But ACT says it has no idea about where Theta 7 is, and they have no leads under active investigation. Until Theta 7, who is suspected of having personally directed successive waves of starport bombings, is captured, the threat of more terrorist attacks remains very real.
And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News, we read the news so you don't have to.
Get ready. Lave Radio.
Lave Radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy. The Lave Radio Project was our last best hope for news. A self-contained podcast 2 hours long, located in neutral territory. A place of nonsense and innuendo for forum dads, community members and developers. A shining beacon in space, all alone on a Tuesday night. It was the dawn of the 3rd chapter of Elite. The year's space legs came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Lavian stations. The year is 3307. The name of the place? Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 357 of Lave Radio, the show that likes to talk about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that surrounds it. I'm your host, Commander Phoenix of Fire, otherwise known as Colin Ford, the Chief Archivist of Lave Station, and joining me in the Orange Sidewinder bar for this episode, we have our Chief Liaison Officer, that's Commander Psykit.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm just putting my teeth back in. I seem to be.
It appears so.
Yeah. We also have our Inhuman Resources Director, Commander Shan.
Hello.
Unfortunately, our Head of Health and Safety, or Commander in charge of Filth, Commander Edelweiss, is ill this week. So what we've had to do is we've had to put a call out. So we've got our Squeer-in-Chief, Commander Kerrash, coming for a visit.
Greetings,
and glad that everybody is here. Now, if you wish, you can join us live. We're actually not hanging out in game, unless we do have the Chris Mark IV, who is hanging about somewhere. And yes, Ben is in the chat and complaining about my presentation style already. So it looks like we're not getting away from the filth after all. But
so hold on, Colin. Sorry, just if Ben is in charge of health and safety, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Ben is ill.
Yes.
So does that make him head of safety? Because he can't be head of health because he's ill.
Well, surely he's the expert of health because he is ill. He's wishing he was healthy.
Or maybe he's the head of sick and safety.
Well, we certainly know he's sick in the head. Or is that a little too...
I feel like this is unfair because he's not here to give retorts. And even if he wasn't here, he wouldn't be able to give retorts anyway.
That's the best time to pick on someone when they're not here.
I mean, give him his allowance.
Well, no, every time something goes wrong at our work, I know it's a case of blame the person who's on holiday.
Oh, holiday is different. Holiday is fine. It's when they're sick when it's a problem.
Or if they're not at the meeting, you give them all the actions. That's the other rule, isn't it?
Yep. And when they leave the business, they get the blame for everything.
They do. Yes. Anyway, yes, we have the Chris Mark IV running around Lave Station at the moment. But if you can't join him, you can also join us at the Twitch chat channel, which you can access through laveradio.com/live. Click on the live chat, or go to twitch.tv/laveradio, or go to Lave Radio on YouTube, or go even onto Facebook, because we're there as well, although we're probably getting copyright strikes for just using common words these days. So let's have a quick chat with the team, see what they've been up to for the last week. We'll start with Commander Shan.
Well, I have been exploring from Explorer's Anchorage to Colonia this week, so I'm slowly making my way back on my Shenanigans account. So I'm going back to Colonia to collect all my ships, ready to transport them back. I've been DOMS this week. I've got DOMS apparently.
DOMS, is that the name of the illness that Ben's got?
No. This is delayed onset muscle soreness, and I've got it in my neck because, yes, I am a pain in the neck, before anyone says, but what it was is a friend of mine lent me a draggy, and a draggy is a little box that sits on the car's dashboard, and it records things like quarter miles, 0 to 60s, 0 to 100, and all the usual drag strip things. So I didn't have it very long, so I spent a morning or Sunday morning drag stripping my car and recording various times and stuff. But I did it so much, it actually hurt my neck with all the accelerating and decelerating.
So you gave yourself whiplash, in other words?
Yeah.
Self-inflicted whiplash. Did you know you can claim for that? Oh no, you'd have to sue yourself.
Well, I of course got no sympathy at all for Mrs. Shan, which distressed me greatly. And she just laughed at me and said, "You complete muppet," and then just laughed again and walked off.
And I think we'll just, all of us here, let us say on the crew, we will agree with Mrs. Shan and just laugh at you. How's that?
It was very fun. I used something like 15% of battery in 7 miles. So that's the car equivalent of getting about 3 mpg, I think.
Yeah, so we're going to have to change the tonight's episode to what they have just suggested in the chat room. Tonight's episode is called Shan's Adventure in Drag.
Now that's a writing prompt for later.
Oh, is that what you want as your smutty stuff,
Sure, why not?
There you
I'm
have
getting no sympathy from your lot. I have a medically approved injury.
Self-inflicted.
And you brought upon yourself.
And you lot have no sympathy. In fact, you had more sympathy for that stupid alpaca that was unjustly killed than you had for me.
See, I told you he'd bring it up first. He's more upset about this than any of us. Yes, for all of those that have been following the alpaca news, it turned out that Geronimo, the executed alpaca that Shan is so fond of, didn't have TB after all. We will just take a quick break as for 30-second break, just in mourning. Actually, we're lying. We're not going to bother at all. Psykit.
Sorry. No, I was just reading about the poor Geronimo. Apparently, the local Chinese restaurant introduced a new dish where he was, which soon sold out.
What, curried alpaca?
Well, they call it chicken.
Oh dear. All right, moving on from there. Commander Kerrash, how have you been for, oh good grief, how long?
Oh, it's been a while. I've been a busy boy as always. I was just talking about it before we came on. Oh my goodness, so many things going on in family life, sorting gardens inside, outside. I've got a skip full of rubbish going in my front garden, and the massive sort out everywhere. Been just really busy with everything. But game wise, I brought the squaddies back from Colonia. The carrier is now safely back in our headquarters in Tesh Hub, so that's why I am here in Lave headquarters. So yeah, glad to be back. Got lots of catching up to do.
I know. Yes, it's quite a lot's been happening. I do like the fact that we seem to have confused poor Commander Sorrowful. This is an Elite Dangerous podcast. Don't worry, we'll get there eventually. Right. Psykit, now you have been especially busy this week, and
We've been busy, yeah.
and we'll probably touch on some of those things that you've been busy with later. But apart from that, what else have you been up to?
I've been predominantly playing a heck ton of No Man's Sky. Honestly, like I hadn't played it before this week,
Right.
or before last week. I hadn't played it since for 11 months.
Yeah.
And a heck of a lot of change has changed.
Yep.
And they've got they do these expedition things. And these expedition things really remind me of back in the day when I used to play a shed ton of modded Minecraft, and there were quest books that you could complete something and it would give you stuff back that would help expedite another quest or help your progress elsewhere. So I've been just like, faffing my way through that, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, every time No Man's Sky actually come out with an update, I do end up spending. I normally wipe my save, start all over from the beginning, and see how far I get. And I normally get about 20 hours in before, finally I think, oh no, I'm back to Elite Dangerous. Doing the same this time, but not with the same vigor, if you see what I mean. So, because I must admit, I'm enjoying Odyssey enough not for it to rip me away to No Man's Sky, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm still playing Elite, but I'm just playing a lot of No Man's Sky as well, because it's not scratching the space itch, it's scratching the Minecraft itch, which I forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, there is the crafting side of No Man's Sky, which I absolutely love, because I am at the moment building up this fantastic base. But of course, I've got to get all the stuff together to do it. So yes. Anything else?
Oh, just flight assist things, different podcast, wrong show.
Yes. Yes. Right. Well, okay. Let's see what I've been up to. Obviously, like I've just mentioned, I've been doing a little bit of No Man's Sky. I have been doing some a lot of Odyssey and Elite. Mostly getting my Power Play Commander up to its right level. Obviously, there's streamed twice last week, believe it or not, to get my Colin to Colonia person to the next base, which is 6,000 light years away from Lave, which that's the furthest I've managed so far, which isn't too bad for a 27 clipper. And then finally, usual stuff. Someone wants a Xeno Bunny update. Why would anybody want the Xeno Bunny update?
Because he's as part of the show, like you are.
Okay, since you want to know, he's fine. He's losing his summer coat, and we've got rabbit fur everywhere. Is that helpful?
Do they molt?
Yeah. Well, this one does.
So could you not collect the fur and like knit something with it, like a little scarf or something?
Tell you what, Shan, if you want, I will get all his fur, put it into a little plastic bag and send it down to you. You might be able to stuff it and use it to stuff a pillow or something. And that means you'd have a Xeno Bunny stuffed pillow. How does that sound?
Well, we could actually dispose of said Xeno Bunny and use it all as a pillow.
Again, he's now back to the destroying of animals, just like Geronimo. So I can see this going round in a big circle. Right. I think we should move on before we get a little bit more distracted. Shall we talk about the development news this week? Well, first of all, obviously from the large amount of discussion that we had about the fix-it list, one of the things that they did miss out from the fix-it list was an automated accounts influencing BSG and PowerPlay issue. That was highly voted, and people wanted to look at it, or people to look at it, but Bruce put a response up saying effectively that, well, it's not really a bug, and it's not really a design issue. It's more like a user issue. Shouldn't really be in the issue tracker, and we are still looking into it, and so on and so forth. And I don't think that came across as a very satisfactory answer, the way people responded. Shan.
Yeah, I mean, on one respect, I can see where Frontier are coming from with that. It's strictly speaking not a issue or a bug, but when you do come across something like botting or exploiting and stuff, people want to know and have visible information that something's actually happening about it. Because unless it's tracked publicly, you could quite reasonably think, well, Frontier have just swept it under the carpet to get rid of it, and we'll never hear anything about it again. And therefore, there's no accountability for dealing with it. So I think that may be where some of the salt was coming from. Yes, I can completely understand they're not going to talk about how to do it or where it happened and all that sort of stuff. I completely understand about the mechanics of it and not, going for it that way. But it should be tracked, and we should have public and accountable view that are actually working on it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the feedback is that we don't want the actual details of who's been banned. We just would like to know if, X number of people have been removed from the game. We don't need to know the personal details. Crash.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's something they've actually been working on from the very, very early days of Elite, and they've kept it stum because it's one of those like arms race type situations. If they kind of give any information about even the subtlest little thing, like percentages of number of people that have been called out or volumes of things, that could be correlated by people that are doing exploits to kind of realize that, oh, well, when we did this particular thing, they managed to catch a lot more of our accounts. So, you know what I mean? Even the slightest little bit of information they give publicly can be used against them to counter the measures they're putting in. It's a really tricky balance.
Yeah, I mean, it is something that people. Although, I mean, I was listening to the Guard Frequency this week, and they were saying that one of the things they've got to try and balance is the fact that they've got to work out what percentage of the player base is actually bothered by this. And if it's worth the inconveniencing the majority of people who are not bothered about BSG or power play with fixes to bring this into line. And they might have come to the conclusion that if only 10% of the 10% of the people are bothered about BGS and 1% are bothered about power play, it's not worth it. So, yeah, Shan.
Well, in response to what Crash was saying, and again, I'm still working this through in my head, so I'm sort of playing catch up in my mind really. But in response to if we tell people about it, they'll be able to adapt better and they'll know who it's affecting and stuff like that. Well, my thought around that is, well, they probably know anyway. It's not as though if you don't read something on the Frontier forum, the information goes away. So they probably know what's going on anyway with that. And the guard frequency, again, I can understand where they're coming from. It may notionally not be worth bothering because it affects so few people. However, burglary doesn't affect that many people, but people are still bothered about it. It's a question of principle. And people want to know that people who exploit, people who hack, break the rules, who whatever, are dealt with, because that's just fundamental. What makes a game well run is this sense of we have control over the situation.
Okay, psykit, quickly jump in there.
I think first and foremost, you can say, yeah, I think people think, but what you're talking about is like your own experience and the small amount of people that you've spoken to about it. From the from Elite Dangerous' standpoint, and we've seen this time and time again, the predominant amount of people that play this game, according to statistics, are people who play in solo. Now, those people won't necessarily be interested in the background simulation. They might be interested in a little bit of power play. They might be fully invested into the background simulation and power play, but without them adding weight to an already contentious issue, we're never going to know. And I feel that a lot of people who may be playing solo aren't that aware of the increased community that Elite Dangerous has, which is a shame. But all the same, it's I don't feel that botting or saying that the amount of bots that they ban, for example, if they ban X amount of bots, it's like you see Warzone banning 40,000 bots. You go on the next day and there was a hacker. It's not going to stop the issue.
Shan?
I thought you wanted to say something, didn't you, Colin?
No, that's sort of...
Okay, no, I was just thinking through what psykit said. I think it depends on how you phrase the question when you ask people, because if you say, are you worried about botting affecting power play, I would suggest most people would go, no, because it's about power play. If you phrase the question, are you concerned about people using automated scripts to gain advantage in the game, they'd go, oh yes, I am. So it purely depends on how you phrase.
Or they'd go, oh, I didn't know that people were using automated scripts to use something in the game. So yeah, that would make me worried. Do you see what I mean? The people that you're asking those leading questions to might not even know that it's something that that exists. But it's Frontiers, like the evidence came from Frontier that people played in solo. So it's likely that they wouldn't necessarily have as higher interest in the background simulation, for sure, because that tends to be focused more around player factions.
I would. Sorry, Con.
Yeah, I mean, the point that I was trying to make this is that some people suggested there would be some kind of check and balance where I don't know, if you requested docking, the docking controller says, sure, you can dock if you put in this pin, so that would stop people. They'd have to put in a pin to actually get docking clearance. Now, that kind of thing would be, yes, it would certainly stop the bots, but it would cause a problem for the 85% of people in solo who it wouldn't affect whatsoever, and that kind of thing would just cause problems. So they've got to kind of balance how this thing is handled. Kerrash.
I was going to jump in, but I didn't want to be rude. But I would just say, from a point of view as someone who's a developer, and let's just say may or may not have played around with various tools and utilities in this kind of area of expertise, should we put it that way? I'm just being very coy around that. You'd be scared how much you can automate, and even something like what you just suggested there, not trying to shoot it down, but something like that, you could train a bot to deal with that. So it's a big challenge. I don't know whether Frontier has the resources in order to deal with botting on this scale. When you look at something like a GTA, for example, it's rife with bots. It's absolutely terrible. Like you step into any session now, and you guarantee there's either a bot or an exploiter. It's an awful place to be in, and I just don't know whether Frontier can ever actually solve that problem.
Okay, Shan.
Well, I would suggest that such a problem now is just not solvable with Elite, because you mentioned in GTA, I know people in GTA, I know the Rockstar, the GTA, have had a real go at botting and exploiters and stuff like that, haven't they? If I remember rightly, they banned a whole load of people, and it still happened. But through making it public, it does say, well, actually, Rockstar care about the online part of the game. I mean, solo play. If you think of Elite as a solo player game, a single player game, it kind of doesn't matter what you do, because in your head, you're only affecting you. It's the same as, I don't know, cheating in Skyrim and giving yourself 1,000 hit points or whatever it is. It's just you and your game, so it doesn't care what you do. As soon as you move online and your actions start to affect other people, then you have to say, well, actually, there needs to be a referee to make sure people aren't illegitimately affecting other people. And I think it's that being a referee part that I think people are probably more concerned about than the actual what people are bossing. I don't know. I'll throw it over to people to think about, but I would suggest it's the affecting other people bit that people care about.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to move on for that because we've discussed botting before, and we'll probably come back to it in the future at some point. The next point caused quite a lot of quite a lot of salt on the forums. This one. Frontier launched their financial reports. There were two. One which is their how should I put it, promotional report, where they have a company go through their books and try and basically put everything in their best light. And then they also have the official financial report to the stock market. Now, the results from this showed that that Frontier made their projected earnings but I think it was the comments about the launch of Odyssey that got people a little bit upset, because I'll say I'll just quote directly here. It sort of said, and completing this large and complex expansion without the benefits of face-to-face collaboration was challenging. And despite a successful alpha period, unfortunately the launch was hindered by connectivity issues, and this turned the positive reception of the alpha into one of negativity. Right. Now, basically, basically, this seemed to upset a lot of people. And we'll start with Kerrash, I think.
Hashtag blame Rona. Yes. Yeah, it does seem like a bit. It sounds like a bit of a cop out to me. It's like we screwed up. Yeah, I get it. It is challenging. I've seen businesses on either side of that coin where some have thrived in the last couple of years, and then others have found it really, really difficult. So I feel for them in that sense. Yeah, it is difficult, but that doesn't cover all of the mistakes that have happened with that. I don't think it's purely a we haven't been able to work together type thing. There's a lot more problems that happened with Odyssey which weren't related to inability to collaborate, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it is the fact that I think people were just looking at this. Launch was hindered by connectivity issues. Come on, pull the other one. Yeah, that's. I think that's the one key phrase that everybody is. Is the one bit that got everybody, because I think everybody. Well, it depends on what they first of all define as a successful alpha. It might have been successful for them, but a lot of people felt it wasn't. And we all know that it wasn't just connectivity issues. It was a lot more than connectivity issues, and we're still working through those issues right now. In addition to this, they put the overall reception to this major content update has been disappointing, but we are confident as we improve and enhance the Odyssey experience that we will see more and more commanders engage with this expansion. That is quite a statement, because they've also downgraded the estimates of the amount of revenue they're going to get off Odyssey by about £10 million. It's quite a chunk. I think it was 25 and it's now down to £15 million they're hoping to get from Odyssey, and it's and I don't know, I guess the arcs that people are going to spend on Odyssey. Right. I'm bracing myself here, Shan.
Deep breath. I believe it was a failure of connectivity that caused the problems with Odyssey. And it's not network connectivity, it's not Corona, it's connectivity with the real world. I tried to think of how this could possibly be correct. And it just isn't. I'm sorry, someone at Frontier, even if it was written by an analyst, had to sign off on that statement. And at worst, it's a significant error. At best, it's a significant error. At worst, it's a barefaced lie. And I know I'm negative to Frontier. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But it's dishonest. And and they've been trying really hard to gain trust back in the community. And the poor CMs have been working so hard to get the trust and build the momentum back up. And then something like this happens and torpedoes the lot. And if they'd have phrased it differently, if they'd have not just mentioned connectivity, which implies, oh, it's someone else's fault, it was the network, it was this. No, it wasn't. It was, I don't know, I'm exasperated with them, to be fair. I just don't get how this helps Frontier's case in rebuilding trust in the community. And that makes me sadder than usual. And we can also, well, what was your success criteria for the alpha? Well, if you read the forums, you would know there were significant problems in the alpha that needed to be addressed before it went live. That's not a success. I mean, yes, I guess it's successful in that you caught loads of bugs, I suppose, but then isn't a successful alpha actually taking the feedback from an alpha and moving it forward so it goes into production?
Yeah,
Then fixed.
their definition of successful is probably very different from the player bases. Their definition of successful is, yeah, well, we actually got it all to work together, which that's the whole point of the alpha. And then, yeah, psykit.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we got it all to work, and we also managed to make a shed ton of money from the other people. Because you've got to remember that this is a financial statement. So their idea of success in this instance isn't, oh no, it's buggy as hell. We were successful because we managed to get other people to pay for it. And lots of people bought the game so that they had access to the alpha. That is their success metric at that point. Yes, okay, there were a shit ton of connectivity issues, but that was a mere drop in the ocean considering everything else that was going on at the same time. I don't necessarily think that this is a big hill that like the salt mongerers. I don't necessarily think that this would be the hill for a saltmonger to die on. Although you said one thing, but actually there were a lot more issues than just that.
Yeah, the issue with this one, I think, is because the actual proper financial report is supposed to be a legal document, and the fact that the connectivity issues don't cover. I mean, they've got the gist right. They've sort of expand. They had air quotes successful alpha, and then they went to the actual release, and then that was negatively received. That narrative's completely true. It's the reason behind the narrative that was the issue. Shan.
Yeah, I was about to say what you were saying, Colin. The difference is it's not a marketing statement. It is a legally binding commercial statement. And yes, you can weasel around it and say, well, technically there were connectivity issues, I suppose, but then there's been connectivity issues of the same vein with every single release or major release of Elite. So that's no surprise for me that there were these issues because, hey, it's happened all the time. I think for me personally, and I can only speak for me personally, is I will not support a company that displays a lack of integrity or disingenuous, and I hesitate to use dishonest statement in a legal document. I will not grace them with my money again because I'm sorry, but I have personal standards of a company's behavior. And I've applied it to things like Facebook and all sorts of other companies that have been dodgy in the past. And it really pains me to say it, that Frontier are really close to to that line with me. And I hate to say it, but I'm sorry, it's just inexcusable a way of saying it.
Okay. Has anybody got any final points they'd just like to say about this before we move on to the next bit? No? Okay. Yeah, following this on, both ourselves and Obsidian Ant put up polls asking people on YouTube, effectively asking them what they thought the biggest reasons for Odyssey's perceived negative reaction actually was. And people had 4 options, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here. We had A, frame rate, B, bad or inconsistent design, C, connectivity, and C, planetary graphics and lighting, etc. And I'm afraid to say that the main result in both in both polls was basically bad/inconsistent design, which is with connectivity coming second, frame rate coming third, and finally planetary graphics coming right down the bottom. So I mean, it seems to me that that's people who aren't happy with the need. You need a percent now, do you?
Yes, in each poll, we should say what percentage of how many people said that.
I don't have the permissions to actually see what our results were.
Hold on. Go to Crash and I'll...
I do. I have it now.
Okay, then go on.
Well, on our results, of 58 votes on our results, it was 62% said bad inconsistent design, 26% said frame rate, 9% said planetary graphics and lighting, and 3% said connectivity.
All right, so I got that completely wrong.
On Ants,
mm-hmm.
Not enjoyable, inconsistent gameplay design. This is out of 12,000 votes.
Yep.
Not enjoyable, inconsistent gameplay design is 70%. FPS performance issues 21%. Bugs and crashing 8%. Connectivity problems 1%.
Yeah. So there we go, and that's not how. Yeah, 70% of 12,000 people. Yeah, that's quite a. It's basically people are not happy with the way that Odyssey has slotted in with the actual main game of Elite.
Possibly, but yeah, I think the main thing is that 70% of 12K think it's deeper than just FPS or graphical issues.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's completely understandable. Crash, do you have a point?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite surprised at the options actually. I went there completely blind. I didn't realize what the 4 options were going to be. I would have said something else would have been the most prominent thing there. But no, I get it from a gameplay design. But they were always up against a wall with this. I've been saying it for a long, long time. Is trying to slot in on-foot gameplay into an existing game design was always going to be a really big challenge for them, and I didn't see how they were going to be able to do it. It's the same with the in-ship interior stuff that everyone keeps bringing up. I don't see how they can slot that into the existing game in a meaningful way. So I can see why that's a big turn-off for a lot of people. The gameplay that's there is just not what the current player base expected or wanted. But then I don't think that was the real design goal. So I don't think they've failed so much. So I think they failed to deliver something that the current player base wants. They were aiming to deliver and design something which was for a different audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, this is one thing that I think that one of the disconnects that we've got is that a lot of people have said that as far as they were concerned, they wanted ship interiors. But I think if anybody seen how Star Citizen is handling the ship interiors, you know that that would involve a huge requirement in new hardware requirements and things like that. And then on top of that, could you get something like Star Citizen working on an Xbox or a PlayStation 4? I don't think so. But yeah, and a lot of people have different ideas about what you could do within station interior, ship interiors. Some people just want to walk around their ship. Other people want to have full on boarding actions and things like that. The amount, just as a software engineer and looking at the amount of network traffic that would just be required to do 2 ships in a system doing a boarding action with all the things that entails, just melts my brain. Just thinking about the network traffic alone. Okay, Shan.
I just thought listening to what you and Crash were saying, and kind of, I get the limitations of the engine and things like that, but I think what people expected had been blatantly clear since it was released 7 years ago. So I think what people that wanted from Space Legs has been released, and what I would have wanted to have seen is a upfront. This is what the scope is. Yes, we know about this. We know about this. However, it was just too complicated or too expensive, whatever, to deliver this. So people went into this being led to believe that there's some mythical branch somewhere that contains more than what the alpha had. And then when it hit on the 19th of May, suddenly finding it didn't. And all the stuff they'd been dreaming about and talking about and stuff like that just wasn't going to happen, wasn't going to be there. And so I think, yeah, I don't. I think it's a failure of design, personally. Sorry, but I just do.
Right. Okay. Crash.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I could jump in, you kind of read my mind. I was going to say the first thing that came to mind when the question was, what was the thing that people thought was the most reason for the negative perception. The first thing that came to my mind was the lies. So I just wanted to jump in and reaffirm that that's kind of where my brain went.
Yeah. Well, okay. Now, obviously, this Monday we had an update on the progress of Update 7. Now, we were expecting Update 7 to come this week. They have put it back another week because apparently abandoning a mission causes us also a CG to be abandoned, which is quite a stonking bug. So FD are now working on a fix of this, and they want it to be in Update 7. So therefore, they're pushing that back a week. Personally, I think that's probably the right thing to do. Because CGs are quite important, especially at the moment, and we'll definitely be touching on that at a later point. Psykit?
I just want to say that we had the conversation a little while back about when we thought it was going to come out, and I said the 23rd, and I feel vindicated.
Yeah, I had the 16th down, so I was there thinking, yes, I got it right, and then obviously on Monday I went, oh God, I'm not going to hear the end of this.
Woohoo! Vindication!
Yeah. Vindication! Yes. Shan?
I'm not sure when it was expected to hit, but being grumpy, I expect it to be later than we thought. But I don't mind the fact it's been delayed a week, to be fair, because from the sounds of it, they unearthed the bug pretty late in the code testing, and they delayed it because I'd rather not have a patch 1 week and then another patch the week after, because that sends a completely different message about your quality control, as if, oh crap, we suddenly discovered this error, we got to issue another patch. Or, yeah, we found a bug, it's going to take a week later and while we fix it. I prefer the latter approach than having to.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I as a software developer, I do appreciate the fact they sort of said, right, okay, we found something, we think it's critical, we're putting it back, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Because the one thing that we've all seen is basically when a release goes live and there's one issue that really stops something major from happening, and I suspect the CG will be something major, then yeah, that should be a priority. Right, so obviously we had a little bit of a sneak peek today as well. On today's stream, Orf showed a photograph of the latest build, and it's a little sneak peek of what looks like Orf as a commander on the concourse of a megaship.
He looks really happy, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, it looks ecstatic. But then again, I have never seen a happy-looking commander.
That's because they don't exist.
I've seen gormless-looking ones.
No, I've certainly seen whenever I've gone in a blooming Apex taxi, the pilot's always looking over at me and going, "Is that you?"
Do you think this commander looks a little bit like Etienne Dawn's BAME cousin?
again, we're back to the obsession you've got with Etienne Dawn.
Well, that was an honour as sovereign.
Yes, well, true. Yes. Well, so it goes to show that they are working. They are working on, continue to work rather, on Odyssey, and that will be one of the things that will be coming, but obviously not in Update 7. It's just for future down the line. Now, obviously, last Thursday there was the Elite Dangerous's narrative roundtable, of which we might have an inside job on this one. Psykit?
Don't know what you're talking about. It was good fun. It was good fun. It was interesting in the fact that there was me who I just love the stories and I get really involved and stuff in the stories, and then there's Crow and Malik who do not let their feelings control them in any way. And come stacked with all of these bits of information, but it did make me realize that there's a couple of places that I've missed that I need to go and visit, so that's really cool. But yeah, it was a really, really fun conversation. It was so fun watching them go toe together as well, and like, because they have very, very different opinions, which is quite nice. But yeah, it was good fun. It was good fun. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, excellent. I mean, apparently you were given something like 2 or 3 sheets of A4 for you guys to cover, and you covered about what, 4 lines?
Yeah, about that. It was like there was constant questions, and I'm like, what do you think of this? And I'm looking at it, knowing me, Malik and Crow, knowing how much me and Crow have talked about one topic in the past, like over hours we've spent just talking, and I was like, there's no way. There's not a chance in hell. Can we like at least talk about some of the more recent stuff? Because the more recent stuff is really exciting and interesting and fresh.
Yeah, I kind of know that issue. It does seem to go back over old ground quite a lot. So yes. So I think moving on from there. I mean, you did enjoy being on the inside track there, didn't you?
I really enjoyed trying to get Malik to give an opinion rather than an opinion that wasn't based on any evidence. That was really fun. That was my favorite part.
Excellent. Shan, you wanted to talk about megaship interiors?
Yeah, I was just going to remind people that the images shown are for megaships, not for fleet carriers.
Yes, they're good call, actually, because the I don't want people getting confused about that. They know that people want a concourse on the fleet carriers. They know it, but they're not saying anything about it just yet. So, yeah, go figure what you mean by that. So we're just going to quickly go through the news of what has been happening in the actual Elite Dangerous Galaxy. Of course, if you want more detail of this, our friend Pete Witherspoon has the Galnet news, which we normally do at the end of the show. However, what has been happening this week? We've got Akron Delaney has retaliates against the farmer giant. Now, this is that the Kumo Council has now declared war on the Hathis Purple Dynamic Group for them supporting the neomedical industries, which is basically legalized onion head. And that is the ongoing CG. So you can have a good scrap over whether or not you want illegal drugs or legal drugs. So that's going to be that's a fun one. Also, we have the Empire marking the first year anniversary of the NMLA attacks on their systems, and we all know that the NMLA don't seem to have gone away. They are still hiding in the background, even though their capability has been reduced somewhat.
I can't believe that's been a year.
I know. It's something that's got me, because basically, I was just reading through some of the stuff that we'd been going through, and it's more than 6 months now since the space dredger first appeared.
No.
It's coming up to it, yeah. I think that's in April.
OMG.
I know.
Soon
It
be
just feels.
Christmas.
Nights are drawing in.
Oh my god.
In other news, right, rebellion is spreading throughout the Federation. It seems that 7 more federal factions have now severed ties with the superpower in protest against the government monitoring of communications. Now, somebody in the chat room really wanted us to discuss this. I mean, do you guys feel that this is potentially, is the momentum for this building? Is it going to be a threat to the Federation?
I don't know necessarily that it'll be a threat. I mean, they're losing a few factions here and there. Federation's big, like the rest of them, but I think it might put more paid to in the idea of a new superpower maybe eventually forming at some point.
Shan.
So, where are these disgruntled powers going? Are they going to the Alliance? Are they going to the Empire? Or are they sticking to their own little club with their own immigration and fishing policies?
Yeah, they're all basically FedExing.
Oh,
sorry,
such a
that's
dad
the best.
joke. That's such a bad joke, honestly. No, I was being serious, because if we think they're going to join the Alliance, and to be fair, if they want independence and you want an 800-pound gorilla behind you to stop the people stomping you, the natural home, I would have thought, would have been the Alliance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I guess things are in flux. We'll just have to wait and see. Kerrash.
Yeah, it is a weird one. I don't see them ever completely breaking apart the Federation. It's been an established thing in the lore of the games for hundreds of years, isn't it? So I don't think they're ever going to get to that sort of extent, but it is nice to see it mixing things up. I would guess they're going to go just independent, just to give us something interesting to do in game, something interesting to talk about. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of Federation hate. I don't get it.
Well, according to this, from Apoc V Gaming in the chat, it says since 2018, the Federation has lost control over 2,000 systems. They've lost 35% of their controlled systems since 2018, and the Empire is down by 18%. The Alliance and Indies have headed up. 2,000. I mean, that's even before the before all this kicked off.
So, but are those systems, are those player group systems, or are they in-game faction systems, if you see what I mean?
Probably a mixture of both, I would have thought. If it's 2,000 systems, likely to be a mixture of both. Player groups tend to lean towards Alliance or Independent, I think, it's my understanding for the most part. So I would have thought that it would be a decent mixture of just natural wastage from certain Federation systems and player groups.
So yeah, I mean, it just goes to prove that the galaxy still is in flux. Nothing does seem to, stay static as it used to. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on this one. However, one of the latest. Oh, sorry, Shan. Do you want to have a quick? You had a point to make?
No, I was just being sarky about 30-year-old lore not being precious. But
right, fair enough. Well, the final news item came out today is that good old Thargoid Botherer Salvation has now claimed that Thargoid forces will shortly launch an assault on the Cornsar system, to which everyone else is going, what are you on about? We've got nothing here that's worth attacking over. And basically Aegis is now saying, well, we can't do whatever they're saying because we've been shut down. Psykit.
You're really curious to hear your thoughts on this one, Colin. The voice of salvation in this Galnet, do you think that it follows the same tone as previous voices of salvation? Because I was talking about this earlier with some other people, and they both said that it sounded a lot more straightforward and straight to the point, and with less flowery, religious adjacent terminology.
Well, first of all, is salvation actually quoted in the Galnet sound file? Because I haven't listened to that yet. I'm just reading it off the Galnet News website.
Oh, it's not. We've never heard a salvation voice or anything.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's just like the language that is used, to me, just doesn't sound quite as flowery or, that sort of salvation-esque.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this says straight to the point. It says Conser is under threat. You better watch out. And I think everybody needs to watch out what might happen on Tharg's Day. as they like to call it on Galnet News.
Do you think Bruce might have been a week early, maybe?
Yeah, I mean,
I hate to speculate.
You mean the fact of, we don't want people to lose their stuff on the CGs, better not put it in line.
Come back to the bubble, because the CG is something you don't want to miss out on, and it's just a combat CG. I think you might be a week ahead, mate.
Yes, right. So basically, that's the Galnet News caught up with. In other news, the Anti-Xeno Initiative are now added new ranks. You can look it up at wiki antixenoinitiative.com and Ace rank rework. So they're doing some reworking on their anti-Thargoid rankings. So it sounds like they might be ready just in time. We're speculating about this. So, Chris, it's that time of the week again.
Store alert! In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. A store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert. Which one will you buy? A store alert, 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 a store alert. Which one will you buy?
And welcome back. Shan, just quickly about the store alert.
Well, I was going to comment about what is it with cowboy hats in the stores. I want to see different varieties of hats. Like a bobble hat or a Christmas time, a Santa hat or something like that. I just don't get what's the fixation with cowboy hats. I really don't, especially since it's a cowboy hat over a helmet. I'm sure I would have thought a bobble hat, or actually a beanie with a little propeller on the top, or little thrusters on the top that spins you around would be perfect. Yeah, beanie with on the top.
Right. Well,
a fez. Yes,
yeah,
Crash.
We want a fez from the Kablam man. Yes.
Fezes are cool.
Now, Shan, for those of you who don't know, Shan is referring to the plainsman diplomat style of new suit or skin that you can get for your commander as they walk about. It does look a bit Lone Ranger. And yes, it's an interesting little yeah. I mean, why look like a cowboy? They really do want you to look like brown coats from Firefly, don't they? Crash.
Yeah, overall, I don't mind the style. It's just something about that visor. It just, for me, it doesn't fit the rest. I wish I could mix and match at a more granular level, but I guess we're just stuck with that. But there we go.
Yeah, Bitstorm says, haven't they released this 3 times already? It does look a tad familiar.
They do seem to do subtle color variations.
But now it comes in sand.
You can tell they've been watching so much of The Mandalorian, hasn't it? Is this it reminds you of the sort of planes, the drifters? Maybe that's because they want it to be Wild West settlements and things like that. So,
Have you seen this week's new spitting image, by the way?
no, I don't have BritBox.
Season 2 spitting image. They have a brilliant Mandalorian sketch in it.
Was that Boris Johnson as the Mandalorian by any chance?
No. It's Mandalorian with teenage baby Yoda.
Oh, Tina. Oh, God. I don't want to know. In other things that you can buy, there is now the Karma C44 Huntsman, which is basically an SMG that looks like a skinned zebra. And we have the Federal Corvette Pirate paint job, which you can also have. Crash.
Yeah, I do like the pirate one, actually. I might get that from my Corvette. And I'm only really mentioning the Corvette just to wind up Karumba in the chat because he says I should scrap it.
You should definitely
Yeah.
keep your Corvette. Definitely buy all of the skins for it. It's a good ship. Good ship.
Good investment.
Yes.
Excellent investment.
We do have to say hi to Ty from the Loose Screws podcast. Yes, they say that they'll be fixing your Federal Corvette skins soon. I know that he's been quite upset about the fact his Federal Corvette in Odyssey doesn't look as good as it does in Horizons. So yes, that's apparently going to be coming soon. So with with everybody discussing the store alert, we're going to take a short break and come back with our main discussion after these messages.
Are you thinking of suing over missold Python protection insurance? Had an accident in an airlock or slipped in a space station cargo bay and thinking of suing for compensation? Well, don't.
I tried to take my ship commander to court for making fertiliser out of my crewmates. Legal fees have left me with nothing, and now I'm hungry. All the time.
At Watt & Brittany, we take small print very seriously. We have a massive team of lawyers just waiting to block your case and ramp up your legal costs.
I wanted a simple, no-win, no-fee arrangement. My case got blown out of the water by Watt & Brittany, and now I have to rent out my arse for hydrogen fuel.
At Watt & Brittany, we have a saying, if you don't want a beating, stay out of our court.
I was savaged by a wild creature whilst fixing a vending machine. Can't I claim compensation?
No, you can't, because we have a massive team of lawyers and you're just someone who works for a living. Watt & Brittany. Don't even think about it.
This is a public service announcement from the Fuel Rats. Please stop what you're doing and pay attention. If we can rescue you, we will, but you can help us help you by following these easy steps. 1. Fly 50 light seconds or so from the system's main star and drop out of supercruise. 2. Note down the current system and the nearest stellar body. 3. If you're on emergency life support, log out immediately. 4. Go to fuelrats.org and click Get Help. 5. Stay calm, hold your breath, and let our seasoned professionals do what they do best. The Fuel Rats. We have fuel, you don't. Any questions?
I was overseeing the delivery of some slaves to the starport in Axios, and a cleaning robot had just washed the floor, but not left a warning sign. I had to run after a slave that was escaping, and I slipped and fractured my wrist. I was delayed for 10 whole minutes while the Medicomp repaired the damage. My time is billable. Can I get compensation?
Yes, you can.
I was on a regular trading run back to Sol, and it was my job to repaint the outside of the ship. I was given the wrong kind of EVA clamps. Nothing bad actually happened, but it did give me a fright. Can I get compensation?
Yes, you can.
I was checking some robots through customs when I distinctly heard an official call the robots clanks. I was deeply offended, even though I'm not a robot myself. That's their word. You're not allowed to use it. Can I claim for moral outrage?
Yes, you can. At Cowell and McGrath, we are now taking any kind of legal action. No case too small, no justification too frivolous. If you've been lightly inconvenienced, embarrassed, or in any way put out, then someone should be made to give you money. Don't be a stupid clank.
Excuse me?
Cowell and McGrath, taking on any case, playing the percentages.
And welcome back. Now, as you have probably, as we were discussing earlier in the show, one of the things that we thought we'd do is we'd touch on the plot that's happening at the moment in Elite Dangerous. Although Shan would like to talk about the store alert just for a second again.
Yes, I was just going to put forward a suggestion for a new outfit or a new suit for the store, and it would be called the Pants on Fire outfit, in which the trousers would have like flames coming up them, just to kind of like add decoration.
Had to ask, Colin.
You see, I'm not. I'm just letting it go. I'm going full Frozen and just letting it go.
Probably for the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he can take his flaming pants. Anyway, on the other subject, we were going to discuss today the ongoing plot that's happening with Elite Dangerous, because I think it's universally accepted that ever since Galnet and the CGs have come back, that the narrative that's been happening has really, really taken off and is one of the more positive things that everybody, Odyssey and Horizons people, can enjoy. So, I mean, we've discussed this before and things have moved on a little bit. I mean, the present state of the galaxy as it is that the NMLA and the Marlinist situation seems to have settled down a little bit with the Marlinist colonies stabilizing. We have the Federation slowly, what feels like, fragmenting. The the Alliance is still just being the Alliance. Nothing much there happening apart from the fact that Mahan has just said, you know, if you'd listened to me, we would have something decent to respond against the Thargoids with. And because of that, Aegis is practically in stasis, while all the rest of the time we have this good grief, it is Salvation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Salvation is that they're taking on the mantle of what Aegis should be doing and saying, there are Thargoids coming. So there is quite an awful lot going on here in Elite Dangerous in the background. So first of all, I'll just go around and get everybody's opinion of where they are with the plot and whether or not they've actually been engaging with it. So obviously, Shan, off we go.
Well, I was going to ask. I mean, I haven't been engaging with the plot too much because I've been busy real life, hurting my neck, doing drag. Anyway, so the question is, why again was Aegis not doing anything? Has it been sufficiently explained in the story as to why all of a sudden Salvation's popped up? And I admit I haven't been paying attention to the story too much, but I want to make sure that when we talk about story, people at least have a context for what we're discussing about.
Well, it seemed that Aegis, the last couple of years, where Aegis seems to have gone quiet, mostly due to the fact that the Thargoid menace had retreated or had gone quiet themselves. Aegis seemed to be just this thing in the background. Yet when the Thargoids came back, they didn't seem to have any kind of response, and there wasn't the Eagle Eye network didn't respond or anything like that. And after an investigation into Aegis by the superpowers, that's been found wanting, and people have resigned and they've cut funding. So that's what's happened with Aegis. Is that what you're after, Shan?
Yeah, so basically Aegis are like
XCOM.
Well, they're
There's-
like Idris Elba's organization in Pacific Rim, aren't they? Where they think the kaijus are gone, they all go away and go back to sleep and do what they want. Everyone's all happy, and then surprise, surprise, the bad guys pop up again. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's kind of like XCOM between XCOM 1 and the old XCOM and XCOM 2, because basically in XCOM you managed to beat the aliens, and in XCOM 2 they all came back from under the sea, as opposed to the latest version of XCOM, where even though you won, you lost. I never got that bit, to be honest. Anyway, psykit.
You've got to remember also that most recently, Aegis has lost a megaship.
Yes, I mean that I forgot about that. That was the major trigger for this investigation.
Exactly.
Aegis lost a megaship full of Guardian components, which they were going to research on, just like Ramtau did. And surprisingly enough, it went missing. Now they suspect the Thargoids, but the Thargoids could be quite a strong possibility, but you never know with this.
We don't have any
could be-
confirmation of anything.
No, it could be Salvation. It could be the club, although I don't know whether or not the club is still a ongoing thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's where Aegis are. And when the investigation happened, a lot of the research scientists were let go because they were more interested in talking to the Thargoids rather than blowing them up. So that seems to be yeah. So how does everybody feel about what's happening with Aegis and Salvation? Do you think Salvation is somebody who has left Aegis and gone rogue?
No.
No. What do you think then, Psychic?
I think that Salvation, and I will quite happily be wrong about this. I think Salvation is D2.
You think Salvation's D2?
Yeah, that's my
Right.
guess.
Okay.
That would be my guess. I know that a connection between Salvation and the Witch is sometimes dotted about as well.
Right.
But there's something about it that just has me convinced that it's going to be D2.
Yes. Now, okay, we're going to have to put in a little bit of a spoiler
We are,
warning.
yeah.
But if anybody hasn't played through the latest content with involving, the latest treasure hunt, which was what was the name of the?
Hyphen's Cash.
That's the one, which was originally out there in Colonia. What has happened is that it does appear that this organization that we've been tracking with all the new content have been experimenting with how shall I put this, Thargoid human hybrids. It looks like they've been trying to plug human beings into Thargoid ships, and yes, one subject escaped. It's not been every single experiment they've had so far has failed, apart from one subject who is D2, and they escaped thanks to the gentleman who crashed in Colonia.
So it's not Anna Sheridan then?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that. I mean, both me and Ben were getting strong B5 vibes from all of this. Babylon 5 vibes, for those of you who don't know what B5 is. Because, yes, the people had to be surgically altered in order to be put in.
Actually, should this be a spoiler alert for people watching?
Babylon 5?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But Shan, that series is over how many years old now?
I'm done. Just ask a question. Anyway, I was just wondering about Salvation. I wonder if it's connected with Jasmine Halsey. And
That's
her
another name
vision,
that's been floated about with it. Yeah.
with her vision, because she went missing ages ago, didn't she?
Mhm.
And then she saw these beings, super intelligent beings, whatever. So it would be good if it is a tie back to that, because we never really found out what happened to her and who she saw and what she saw and stuff
So
like
she
that.
gave a character witness not too long ago, as part of, I can't remember I can't remember whether it was a trial or whether it was just an investigation, but she was interviewed, and she said that those hallucinations that she had were just that. They weren't anything exciting. Now, people put that down as a retcon, but my specific feeling of it is like, if she wants to be seen as a sane character witness, she's not going to go, oh yes, I saw visions and had words from people that don't exist anymore, because that would mean she is a crazy person.
I know. So you think that Halsey could be Salvation, or it's one of the possibilities?
She's on the list of potentials.
Yes. The other potentials we've got obviously is D2. Now, you put this forward, which I thought was quite interesting. Psykit, was this about? Do you think there's a connection between D2 and Theta 7?
It's just the numbering. It's the choices of numbering for them, that they could be. It's not. It's difficult. It's difficult to say, but it's quite funny to see that there is a letter, be it a Greek alphabet letter and a number, and then like a Romanic alphabet letter and a number. What's to say that Theta 7 weren't more test subjects further down the line once they'd got all the way to Z in English words? Cyrillic, is that the right word? I'm trying to think of the right word for it.
Cyrillic, yeah.
Cyrillic, okay.
Yeah, I mean the thing was, if I thought they were connected, then D2 would have been Delta 2, I think.
Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. If they moved from the Cyrillic alphabet and then the next set of people were like the Greek alphabet or something like that,
right,
it could have moved further, because potentially with the amount of escape pods that engineer requires, there's probably plenty of people that people could use as test subjects.
Yeah, I mean it is an interesting thing to speculate. Do we have any other suspects of who Salvation could be? Shan?
The witch.
I was just wondering, in fact, whether, because people are thinking all of this points to another incursion with the Thargoids. But my tinfoil hat on, what if it doesn't? What if it's actually pointing maybe towards Guardians or a more powerful human faction? Maybe, as you say, creating these human Thargoid hybrids. So it's not direct Thargoid combat. It's something else other than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see what you mean. It it does feel like there could be another Inara out there that, instead of actually flying around in black ships or a black fleet, they actually already have human Thargoid hybrid ships.
Oh, yes. And Etienne Dawn's love of escape pods means he's in on it, because he uses the people in the escape pods as test subjects for the genetic engineering. It all fits together, you see? Fixed, sold. Etienne Dawn's fault.
It's Etienne Dawn's fault. Yeah, it's that. I mean, that is a possibility. I do like the fact that I think that's Kai, Black Sky Legion. He was there. He says that he knows of Thunderchild, which was an AI which was designed to fight against the Thargoids back in the Inara days. and when the Thargoids came back in 3304, it was activated, left the lab, and to hide amongst the people and prepare the fight against Thargoid returns. I think I must have missed that one, or my old age memory is I can't
That's
recall
off,
it.
it's off a ship, isn't it? A mega ship. Oh, I forget the name of it. Let me have a quick Google. It's just picking up signals, if memory serves. Something like Project Thunderchild. Oh, I'm very not super familiar with it, if I'm honest.
It's not a great name for something that's designed to fight aliens, is it?
Yeah, apparently there is an article in Sagittarius Eye which covers it in great detail. So
Okay.
we will point people back to the to Sagittarius Eye so that people can have a good look at the what they've come up with, which is ironic because basically AIs are supposed to be banned, aren't they?
Yes. Well, sentient AI is banned. You're allowed to have AI to do stuff. It's just sentient machines are banned.
Right. Okay. So basically, we're allowed to have. Well, I don't know. Droids in Star Wars are sentient, aren't they?
I don't know. Are they?
Because I always thought they were, but they're restricted with programming. So it's kind of like having a slave that's restricted, but they're not fully AI. Oh, we could get into some really strong psychology. I can't pronounce the word. This is the problem.
Well, the thing is, though, does a personality equal sentience? Because I don't think it does. I mean, my dog's got personalities, and people's cats and gerbils and alpacas have personalities, but it doesn't mean they're sentient.
Yeah, I think I'll
Are you saying
agree.
that your dog isn't sentient? It's not a sentient being?
No, it's a stupid mutt.
Yeah, both
Adding to the
Ben,
algorithm, adding it's fine.
both Ben and the Chris Mark IV have said R2D2 has been smarter than half of the Jedi Order. So he's got to be sentient and self-aware when you think about it. So,
No, he just reads the script.
yeah, he gets the script and he's able to read to work out what's happening. You know what? Sometimes I feel that R2D2 is like the sergeant in Die Hard who's next to the lieutenant, who knows that what the bad guys are doing. They're like,
When you mean the chap who Bruce Willis talked to.
yeah,
Oh,
because basically he's going to go. They're going to shoot the lights, and then you hear bang, bang, bang. Oh my God, they've shot the lights. Really?
I like the idea of the Thunder Child thing, and it could well be right. It's part of my obsessiveness thinks the name's stupid because I was Thunder Child. Oh great, that was the ship in War of the Worlds that killed the tripod, and then it got melted and sank. So why would you name anything after a ship that killed one bad guy and then just got melted?
I mean,
it's like calling it Bismarck, isn't it? Oh, Bismarck blew up the hood. Oh, and then it got bombed. You know. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, in the chat, people have pointed out that actually Theta 7 was called Theta 7 by the Internal Imperial Security Bureau. So that's just their designation. I don't think they've got any. I think it's disconnected with D2, unfortunately. And they've gone quiet ever since basically the NMLA have had their bottom handed to them on their plate for I think the second time, or is it the third time now? I don't think I've every time I've seen a CG with the NMLA involved, they get their backsides kicked. Shan,
Do you think what we do in game will actually influence the way of the story goes, or are we playing out each step in order to reveal the next chapter?
well, You know what? I think in the case of the NMLA and the case of the Federation, I think we are.
I agree.
We as far as those two storylines are going, I think they are completely and utterly following where the community leads them, and then making decisions based on what the results are from the community goals. However, as far as the Thargoid thing is concerned, and also the the breadcrumb trails and the searching stuff that we do, I think that is preordained, like the interstellar initiatives were. They've been writing that out. They've been planning out this storyline, and there is a point where this Thargoid situation with Salvation is going to end, but where the Federation and the Empire and even the Alliance are at that point, that will be completely up to the community. Sure.
Yeah, I've got a question to Crash, really, and I'm sure he remembers. Crash, a while ago, you said you would never shoot at a Thargoid because you didn't want to be an enemy of them, and you wanted to be their friend, and
Well, not
all that.
necessarily a friend. I just didn't want to start a war.
So, do you feel as though that was ever an option of not starting a war with the Thargoids by being friendly to them and feeding them escape pods and whatnot? Do you ever feel that that was an option we could have done, or do you think we were always destined to have a combat with them?
I think more just out of human nature. I don't think it matters how much. I don't think I could have convinced enough people not to fight. So no, regardless, I don't think it was a case of Frontier engaging in railroading like you'd see in like D&D or something. I think it was more of a case of humans are just naturally going to do this thing, and they're going to be assholes, and that's what happened.
So do you think they would have, if people had been non-trigger friendly, just did become in peace the Picard way rather than the Kirk way? Do you think they would have thrown away all the AI and all the game mechanics and all the models and stuff like that?
No. I mean, at a guess, I think they would find another reason to inject it back in again.
Yeah.
I think as much as I would say they didn't railroad, I'd say they didn't have to, because things turned out the way they really wanted it to.
Yeah, I think I remember Michael Brooks at the time saying there is a chance to have peaceful relations with the Thargoids, but it's a very, very small chance. And I think we probably blew that within, I think, the first month of the game. So, goodness knows. But we've moved on quite a lot since then. Psykit, you had a comment on the...
Yeah. So when Grinning Crow did an interview with Arth about narrative, one of the questions that he asked him was very similar to the question that Shan just asked us. Do you think that there was a chance for a Thargoid piece in all of that time? And I'm not quoting directly, but I'm quite close. Arth said that there would have to be a considerable change to the code to mean that Thargoids would be friendly.
I mean, I must admit, as soon as we discovered the Guardians had said that they had tried every possible way to communicate with the Thargoids to try and resolve their conflict, that it was. I just knew that now that the Thargoids are the big bad, and you can try as much as you can feed them as many escape pods as you like. It ain't going to kick off. It's just going to kick off. Well, what was that about Stephen Usher, Shan?
Well, didn't he cause it? If Stephen Usher hadn't suckered you and the rest of the Lave Radio crew into put a Guardian artifact into a Thargoid structure, we would have been sitting down having tea and cucumber sandwiches with the Thargoid right now.
Oh, you're basically blaming Stephen Usher for suggesting it, and me and Ben for
Totally. That wasn't the title of the stream. Is we started a war with Stephen Usher? Wasn't that something like the title? So this poor Crash attempting galactic relations with the Thargoids, which isn't as rude as it sounds, Ben. But anyway, um, then and you three come along like bulls in china shop and pee them off, and then they wage war. So it's completely your fault, Colin. Completely Ben's fault, and especially Stephen Rush's.
Great. So now you're telling me I was involved in the equivalent of the assassination of Grand Duke Franz Ferdinand. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And by the time you did that, it didn't matter what Crash did. We were doomed.
We're doomed. We're doomed.
I was on the right side of history. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that's going to be the wrong side of the plasma bolt that's heading towards you.
Exactly.
So, in all seriousness, though, do we detect anything like this hard-coded approach that psykit remembers? Do we detect anything like that in the story? Do we think we're going to have to side with Salvation, or will we be able to have an option of killing Salvation, or what do you think?
Well, at the moment, I thought it was going to be we've got to make a choice of either working with Salvation or working with Aegis. But since I originally thought that, Aegis has gone the way of the dodo, effectively. So it's just, I think, a case of waiting to see what Salvation and the Thargoids happen next.
We had one CG.
Yeah, Karumba in chat, Colin, has given us this diplomatic solution to the Thargoid conflict. And Karumba says in chat, I think Colin needs to go apologise to a Hydra in his shieldless adder, armed only with a Xeno scanner. And I agree. Definitely, that'd work.
You utter. Listen, I'm doing top shifts in an adder at the moment as penance. Psykit, save me.
We had one CG where we had to choose between Salvation and Aegis a little while back, and I think like not too long after that CG, Aegis went and lost the Alexandria, or it was just before that CG. So they Salvation won the whatever the argument was, whatever we had to bring to one or the other. I think I brought a couple of bits to Salvation at one point, but I think it was almost either immediately after that or like a couple of weeks after that that they went, oh no, we're just going to misplace this megaship as well.
Now, Chris Mark IV has just discovered my hatred for the adders is the same because they've got adder pilots hogging the pads. Yeah, Shan,
doing it. Yeah, I was going to ask about the CGs. Just remind me, did the CGs have the same rewards, or was one CG harder to get to than the other? Because
that specific one.
Yeah.
I know that they've had that in the past, where I've noticed that there've been CGs where, there's one where I wanted the Empire to win, but the Empire win conditions were phenomenally more difficult to achieve than the Federal ones. But I don't think, as far as any of the Thargoid or Salvation ones, I don't think there's been anything there which has been too unbalanced.
Yeah, because that is the other thing, isn't it? Do people do the CGs because they follow the story and want to support either Salvation or whoever it is? Do they do that, or do they just look at the rewards and look at the criteria and go, "Oh, that's an easy 10 million, or that's an easy way of getting a super discovery scanner. I'll do that one." I'm sure it's not an either or. I'm just wondering what proportion of players do you think do it for the story, do it for the rewards?
Yeah, I mean, that was quite interesting because Malchad in the chat has said that the actual CG was in favor of the people who got the new shard cannon, because apparently that was the main motivator for that one winning, he reckons. Crash, you were saying about rewards?
Yeah, for me, it's rewards. I must admit, I do like that there is more to it and there's a reason for what's going on. I think it's great for everyone who's really into that stuff, but I must admit I'm a little bit selfish with it, to be honest. I just want the shiny stuff.
Yeah, Malchat said it was Salvation that gave away the shard cannon, and people seem to want the shard cannon. So, Salvation
Wasn't
won.
there something else that Aegis did though? On the back of that one.
I can't remember what Aegis did.
I'm trying to find it, but it's very tricky.
So here's another devious thought.
Okay.
Could it be possible, or do you think it actually happens, where Frontier choose a CG location on criteria because they know people like materialistic Crash go after rewards, and they choose that option because that's the way they want the story to go. And if we wanted to really test whether it was player driven, should we not be bloody minded and do the opposite to what the easy one is?
That is the Shan disruptor at work, is it? You want the Shan disruptor?
Well, I just want to see what happens.
Crash.
Yeah, I would absolutely do the same thing given that chance. But no, in Frontier's position, that's how I would railroad it. Make the big shiny thing look tempting. Look over here. Don't look at the other things. Look at the shiny thing here.
Yeah, I mean they can railroad it. I think what we're saying, and but I think that if the community decides that, hang on, we've had enough of being led by the nose here, there is still the opportunity for them to say, no, we're not doing that. Psykit.
I found it. I found what Aegis offered.
Oh, what did Aegis offer? It was a discount.
It was a discount. Got like for Guardian equipment. And to be fair, everybody's got that already. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, I think everybody in there looked at that and said, "Well, got that already, so let's go support Salvation."
I didn't. Just personally, I didn't. I went. Aegis has had their chance. Let's go support Salvation and see what they can do.
I must admit, that's the way I'm working at the moment because I'm not that bothered about the rewards, which is a kind of a weird thing. But then again, if people know me from Powerplay, they know I don't module shop. I just stuck with a 1 power, even though and their module is absolutely rubbish. So, Shan.
I'm actually with Crash. I mean, if there was a CG to deliver medical supplies to Space Wuhan that gave you 10 billion credits, I'd be there. You know, I'd be okay. Most rewards, away you go. Don't care about the story. Just give me the stuff. And I think that is the way most players do it. But I would love for people to do the opposite of what takes better, just to see what happens in a really crucial part of the story.
Just so that you can actually imagine Arth going, I'm ripping my hair out. Oh,
well, I did have it for Michael Brooks at one LaveCon. Do you remember the when Jax misjumped?
Oh yeah,
what we will now call Colonia, and then some player found it by looking at the population on the.
Oh yes, I remember. The same way that some people found the Guardian ruins by just managing to triangulate what the stars were.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go on. Well, with Jax, Michael Brooks was fairly admiringly miffed, is the way I'll describe it. But he was a bit miffed that they had all this plot line leading players to find Jax and a huge line of CGs and breadcrumb clues and all that was going to set the players months and months and months of story content to find Jax, and then someone just goes and finds it, and they have to then ditch the lot.
You know what? And that actually makes me quite sad because that is content that we've all missed out on.
I'm sorry, I'm full of admiration for the guy who found it by that way. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the same way that I've got admiration for the guys that worked out exactly where the Guardian ruins were within, I think it was in 2 or 3 days of seeing the trailer and finding the Guardian ruins as soon as they'd been released. I have a massive amount of respect of the fact they were able to analyze and find the exact position just by using those stars. However, it did rob us of, the content that would take us there. And I feel that was a loss. Shan, back to you.
Well, I mean, all these things were when Michael Brooks was in Michael Brooks' tenure. So back then, I can completely believe he had content lined up. If this happens, and this happens. The other one he spoke about was, and I don't remember the name of the faction, but there was a terrorist faction in the Empire. This was many years ago, and then there was the Empire. And
is this Empire's Dawn?
It could be, yeah. That does ring a bell. But anyway, there was a few CGs, and they were gearing the story to have the Empire defeat Thingy's Dawn quite easily, because they thought people would take the side of the Empire against terrorists. But actually, what happened was people just wanted to be terrorists, and so they then had to change it. Now I kind of feel as though the story doesn't give us that option because of the way the rewards and locations and all the stuff like that to be able to do that sort of mischief. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to have a complete Loki clan, call it Loki if you like, just to completely try and create mischief in the storyline to see what happens.
Crash.
Yeah, I think it is a sad thing, but I think that's very much a product of what happened. Because those kind of things happened in the past, Frontier have learned that they just can't afford to spend the time and the resource in preparing that far ahead in order for it to be trashed. They have to plan things which are not going to be a complete waste of time. It's just financially it makes sense to do. It's a shame, but that's the nature of it. They can't run it like a D&D game and just have all of their, if you're doing it like a DM and you're prepared and it all went to shit, yeah, you'd be annoyed, but it's just your own time. If it's a company running that, they've got to be more planned and more prepared to, absorb that financial loss.
Yeah, that is one thing that we do have to remember, is that all that work that Michael Brooks had put in. Basically, there was going to be all the CGs and all the planning that would be involved with those CGs. That's all lost, and it took time and money to put that together. Psykit.
The thing that makes me laugh is when you see people going, oh, but if this side doesn't win, it means that we're not going to get a brand new ship. And I'm like, are you absolutely the same mentality of like the work being lost? What part of you could possibly think that they're going to put all this work into a brand new ship and not bring it into the game?
Cover them up for. Shan.
Yeah, on the lost work bit, Michael Brooks did mention that although the work they did for the Hunt for Jacks wasn't going to happen, there was enough material and mechanics in there for them to reuse it as something else. So I guess that's something that did come out of it. Another thing I thought on this Loki CG mission is, I wonder if you did enough Lokiing to stymie CGs, whether they would just keep upping the rewards to get people back on the right track. So let's say, for example, the next 3 CGs, people went against what people wanted the narrative to be. Would they then say, oh, for the next CG, you have to deliver 100 tons of hydrogen to Lave Station, and if you do that, you get 10 billion credits? Would they keep upping it to persuade people to not be a Loki?
I don't think it's that that far of inverse, and I don't think it's as much of as heavy of a payout now, or as heavy as a difference as maybe it would have been had, or maybe that what Michael Brooks had done. The Colonia that just predates my a lot of like my gameplay is the Colonia stuff.
I was just wondering how far they'd go to get back
But
on track.
I don't think it would be. I don't think the payoff for a lot of the things that they're doing at the moment is quite as substantial. I will very happily be proven wrong.
Crash.
I was just going to say there that, at least on a positive note, and what I would take from that is since then I can see that they've effectively been refactoring what they've got. So, in the situation like Psykit, you were saying there about a ship, they'd probably create that anyway and they would put it up. They would plan to put it up. It's several reward opportunities. And
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
and just see like, oh, well, they threw this offer away, we'll put another one up, and and they've learned that from the failures in the past, and thought, well, we have to kind of decouple the rewards from the activities almost to make sure that they are usable.
Yeah, gimbal beam lasers for one.
I mean, one thing that I still remember is, if you remember the Scourge Interstellar Initiative, which is almost 2 years ago now, Lave got hit quite badly by it, and it did seem that it's never really recovered.
Is this the Cerberus plague thing? Was
Cerberus?
different?
No, remember the Interstellar Initiative? There was someone had poisoned the fertilizer that made everything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it killed off basically crop production. Well, Lave got hit really, really bad by that. Even so that you couldn't even get Lave and Brandy. And the problem is, ever since then, they sort of said, no, you put, what is it? There's this commodity that you transport there, and it's supposed to up and restore the fields. Well, we restored it a little bit, but for the last 2 years, Lave seems to have been stuck on only being able to produce tea and Lave brandy. And I'm wondering whether or not we're stuck like that permanently now.
I don't know, but I wish I'd known about the Cerberus plague earlier. I'd have gone visiting everywhere, I tell you.
And try and shut everybody down.
Yeah, of course. Emerging gameplay. Actually, have we bug reported the Lave Station thing, or is it like they Frontier victimize Lave Station because we're rude about them sometimes? There you go. Tinfoil hat.
Tinfoil hat. I don't know. We could send a message to Sally to ask whether or not we're being punished.
It's Ben's fault.
Yeah, well, it always will be Ben's fault, but but I'm sure he can produce enough fertilizer to get the fields working again.
I don't want to know what Ben does to get fertilizer. Sorry.
Well, no, he's the head of health and safety, so he knows where it all goes to. Anyway, right. I think we're going to wrap up the main discussion right now. Overall, is everybody enjoying where the plot is taking us? Crash.
Yeah, I reckon so. Like I said, I mean, I feel a little bit disconnected from it because I'm just a passenger, but it's I've got my popcorn out and I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
So a good spectator sport for you then.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, of course I am. Of course I am. I like the speculation. I really like the being able to sort of sit down. I was doing remember when they did that thing on Twitter that a lot of people didn't like, but they did a thing on Twitter where they were slowly revealing parts of a message each day, and it was quite a fun little bit of shenanigans.
Yeah, I miss it when they used to do that quite a lot. But
yeah, that like some people didn't like it because they were like, but it isn't in the game, so it's not like. Some of us don't use social media.
Yeah.
All right. But they did this thing on Twitter and on Instagram where they had these bits popping up, and it was really, really cool. And I remember we'd only heard of azimuth biochemical once at that point, and it'd been flippant mentioned by a detective for the, I want to say, oh my gosh, I can't remember what the name of the detective agency. I almost had it there and then I forgot. But this detective had mentioned that azimuth had liquidated or something like that. And then azimuth came up on one of these words, and I was with Crow at the time, and I lost my goddamn mind. And I really enjoy those feelings of going, oh, there's something that can tie into a previous thing, and they're really good at doing that. And I'm really excited to see how I can like make those, join those dots. I sound like a crazy person in front of a board with a lot of red cotton at the moment, but I promise I'm not. I don't have one of those boards. That's Malik.
Yeah, so basically one of the boards with all the cotton wires, the different bits in the map, and showing how everything's connected. I mean, personally, I'm looking forward to eventually flying a Thargoid human hybrid ship. That's where I think this is all going.
Get your authors out for the lads.
Yes.
So would they call it the Turner Mark II or something?
Yeah, I mean, it would be. I mean, we've had Guardian fighters, but yeah, that big weird. What it was the what did you call it, Psykit? The
Orthrus.
Yeah, the Orthrus Thargoid interceptor that just turned up and then disappeared, and it looked very different from your standard Thargoid. Can you imagine flying one of those? Obviously, they are imagining it that hard they've gone completely silent.
I was just trying to imagine trying to get it to dock and asking for docking permission.
No, imagine that you got a choice. You can either plug yourself into that, because once you're plugged in, you can't leave. And now you fly around the galaxy in that for the rest of your commander.
When you're in it, you're not allowed to go to a private group or solo. You can only play it in the open.
It's like the old Jedi in Star Wars Galaxies.
That's it. No more elite feat for you. We've done all this Odyssey, but we're going to plug you into an Orthrus going forward, so you're not actually allowed to leave your ship anymore.
Yay! Sorry.
I like that. I want to make sure that everybody has that opportunity. You can take that red pill.
Yes, that's it. You are merged with the ship. That ship is you, but as soon as your ship is destroyed, that's it. You're back into your normal, and then you've got to go through a whole rigmarole to get back into it again. Oh, I do like the game that we're writing right now. I really do.
Wintermute's got it. I can imagine plugging a crew member into an Orthrus. Yes, we need to put multi-crew. Sorry, our NPC crew into Thargoid vessels.
Oh dear. Somehow I knew that would appeal to you, Shan.
Oh, come on. Surely you'd do it.
Oh, Little Biggin wants to go one worse. He wants to say, if you die while you're flying that Thargoid ship, that's it. Your user account gets wiped and you have to start again.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have...
the Thargoid, you actually die in the real world as well.
That's getting a bit extreme, but
that is going extreme, red pill. I know that. I know this is the Matrix. The resurrection is coming at the end of the year, but wow, we don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh, do you mean Cyberpunk 2078?
Is that what people are calling it now?
Well, Keanu Reeves was definitely channeling Johnny Silverhand in that trailer.
No, Keanu Reeves was just Johnny Silverhand was channeling Keanu Reeves no matter what. Anyway, right, we shall quickly move on to the community corner. For those of you who are interested, yes, there's going to be a new top shift later in the week where I am yet again flying in an adder. God, I hate it. I really hate it. And I probably will be for the next couple of top shifts after that as well.
You need to make peace with the Hydra, remember, Colin?
Arrange this phrase, these words into a famous phrase of saying off sod. Right, Community Corner. We've got Mark Jones, who's tweeted us about having issues on their X52 Pro due to perhaps the 32 button bug. According to the default key map buttons, 32 plus are below the green screen on the throttle, So perhaps remove the bindings from there, or test it so you don't use the X52 keybind program. We've not been able to reproduce it. So if they could send an email to info@Lave Radio with more info, perhaps we could get, or some expert waggler can help out with Command Mark Jones.
Yeah, he's also from New Zealand, and of course, we all know that Lave Radio is one of the top gaming podcasts in New Zealand because they're now so bored from never being able to go anywhere, they resort to listening to Lave Radio.
Yeah. Hello to all our Kiwis, our Kiwi friends, and hobbits down under. Our mostly clueless section we have from Jay Cruz. Touching back on this week's episode where Super Crew's dropout tip was given, I have another tip that's helpful. On approach to the target destination and you've gotten to the point where you're at your 6-second distance speed and your throttle is in that sweet spot, keep an eye on your speed. Once you hit less than 1 megameter a second speed, you can throttle up again, which will allow you to speed up to approach the destination quicker, but without going too fast to drop out. This is particularly helpful if you're being chased in Super Cruise and don't wish to wait around to be interdicted when your ship is going at the speed of smell, waiting for the drop range to be reached. Unfortunately, we don't have Ben with us, so we don't know what the speed of smell actually is. He's gonna kill me for that one.
Well, I guess we can find out when you go and do your Hydra worship.
Right. On to the next famous bit. Sai.
Hi.
You sound enthusiastic.
Well,
about
I
it.
mean, I got 2 entries I got 2 submissions during the show from 2 commanders based on the Shan's drag
How did I guess that was going to come up?
prompt that that was brought up very early in the show.
Do we need to give a warning for people who are listening to this?
No, we
with their family
absolutely
in their
don't.
car?
We absolutely don't. One from Commander Little Bigyin, who says, breathing heavily, Shan turned to RuPaul. Mama Ru's eyes narrowed as she looked at Shanilla. Shanilla, Shantae, you stay. And with a heavy sigh, RuPaul glanced over. Geronimo, sashay away. Geronimo left the room to a muffled sound of a gun cocking. That's one. And then we have a limerick.
A limerick?
A limerick from Commander Edelweiss. Little known commander, I don't know if you've heard of him, that has provided me with, there once was a drag queen called Shan who abused his staff to a man. He murdered his cat in his dress. Fancy that. His prestige has gone right down the pan.
Oh, round of applause to Ben for that one. I thought that was quite good. Right. Would you like me to move on, Shan? Because I think I want to.
Yes, I'm just busy writing my own entrance for next week, so to speak. My own contributions for next week.
Yes. Because we can all give you a warm hand in your entrance. Right. On other business.
Are you Ben in disguise?
I don't know what happened there. I think I got possessed.
What have you done with Colin? Can we have him back, please?
Right. Any other business? Well, I have noticed that Good Old Games, GOG, have actually brought out 2 of the best Star Trek games ever made. That is Starfleet 3 and Bridge Commander. Now, for those of you who have seen Star Trek Bridge Crew, this was basically the equivalent of Bridge Crew about 10 years ago. And both Starfleet 3 and Bridge Commander, you used to, if you had a copy of those, they would go for almost hundreds on eBay. So GOG have just killed the market. Shan?
Yeah, I played that many years ago. I'm not even sure I've got the disc or anything like that, but Bridge Commander I did like. Bridge Commander, I know it's completely unreasonable. Bridge Crew, Bridge Crew is what I wanted multi-crew to be like in Elite. Completely unreasonable expectation, but yeah, I
Well,
want.
yeah, I think a lot of people wanted that, to be honest. I know what that was one of the major disappointments with multi-crew was that it didn't have that level of complexity. But
The
a lot
best
of
thing
other
about the best thing about Bridge Crew is if you had the Vive, you could press the trigger and it raised your middle finger on the screen.
I
So
find,
yeah, it was
I
worth the
find
cost just for that.
I found that out when I did. I, I played Bridge Commander on Monday night and basically had a whole load of problems with the Vive and things like that. But when we did have it working, yes, the amount of gestures you could be creative with those controllers was quite fun. Just to point out that Bridge Commander, it was originally done by the same team that did X-Wing and TIE Fighter. So it's really, I can't recommend it enough. If you want to find out how difficult it is to fly the Enterprise and take on Romulan warbirds, that's the one to do it with. So, has anybody got any other business that they want to quickly touch on?
Oh,
Ooh,
I might have a little one.
yeah, I know.
There's a tweet.
Go on.
There's a tweet that maybe the Flight Assist account made that I'd really appreciate if everyone just like blew out of the water. That'd be really good.
Would you care to go into any further details about the tweet?
So you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Colin. We might have tweeted at Braben to ask if he wants to come on Flight Assist, and we really want to interview on Flight Assist. And let's face it, we do the fluffy slush plate pieces, so he's more likely to come and like speak like happy things with us than he is with anyone else. So please,
Can I go on
blow
there?
it. No, so everyone blow it out the water. That'd be very helpful.
I'm his biggest fan.
We'd love for that to happen. It'd be very fun.
Biggest fan, is that before or after the shit hits it?
No. Seriously, I was actually talking with some people the other day actually, and we thought about how would we get a audience with senior people at Frontier to talk about the state of the game and stuff like that, and we debated about camping out sort of Frontier hours in Cambridge. And we'd have some spectacular footage of being hauled off by security and stuff like that, which would be great fun. But then the whole plan kind of fell apart when we realised that A, there were no toilets nearby, and B, Frontier wouldn't let us use their Wi-Fi.
Well, we couldn't even get anybody for episode 300, so goodness knows.
No, we camp outside. We camp outside. You can camp. You can get a tent. Camp like Extinction Rebellion. You just sit outside.
Okay, right. Well, I'm going to wrap things up now, and because I've just noticed what the time was. So I'll give our usually weekly shout-outs. So our sister station, Hutton Orbital, let me start that again. Our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio 8, broadcasts on a Thursday at 8:30. You can tune in at Twitch TV. Hutton Orbital Truckers, or if you just want the audio, go to radio.forthemug.com. I see someone is automatically adding stuff into the notes even as I speak. For the discerning commanders who like a bit of CQC action, you can check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. We'll also give shout-outs to the following Elite Dangerous podcasts which have appeared lately. So we've got Allograb AM, the Black Sky Legion, there's the Canon podcast, the Elite Cast for Spanish speakers, the Fatherhood podcast, good old Flight Assist, the Guard Frequency, Loose Screws. There's also New Worlds, Zero Prep, which is Ben, Kai, and Suv just talking about stuff willy-nilly, Squeaking Fuel, and System Chat. And then for those of you who want a literary discussion about sci-fi and fantasy books, there's also the Data Slate podcast, which was created by our station commander, Alan Stroud. Now, following this, we have the latest Galnet news provided by Commander Witherspoon and Commander Beetlejude. And we'll like to thank everybody who has chipped in on the Twitch chat. And have we had many in-game commanders, Chris Mark IV?
Yes, we've had Miggles and Kerrash have been in there, and Vimes Free.
Fine. Shan, you've got one final point, which I'm rather scared to ask about.
I put it in the chat. I put it in the chat for you to vet, but now you let me said it. I was just about to say, do we actually want Ben talking about Willy and Nilly, or would we rather he change the subject?
But that's the thing about Zero Prep. They can talk about anything they want. They can talk about the Nilly. They can talk about their... Oh, never mind. Right. We'll also say special thanks to Commander Tokuso, who created music for the new introduction for the show. But that's it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, then you can email info@laveradio.com. You can hit us up at facebook.com/laveradio, tweet us at laveradio, or you could join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio. We also have a TeamSpeak server where commanders like to hang out and chat, which you can find that at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Word of warning, it is shared with the truckers, so if you can't handle truckers, don't bother. Do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 and streamed out at laveradio.com/live. So thanks to Kerrash, thanks to Psykit, and thanks to Shan, and special thanks of course goes to today's tech specialist, the Chris Mark IV. So until next time, commanders, fly safe. And if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Is your life like this?
Sounds like someone having an orange inserted. Need a safe word.
Space can be loaded.
I'm gonna see the galaxy.
Damn it. No worries, guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Galnet News Special, 14th of September 3307. A brief history of Onion Head. The current controversy and conflict over the proposed medical use of Onion Head by neo-medical industries is by no means the first time Onion Head has led to conflict. What is Onion Head, and why does it create such division? According to the Legalize Onion Head movement, Onion Head originally came from one of the three water worlds of HIP 55-11-8. This alien plant, with a flower and a seed head that reminded early settlers of the onion, produces in its seeds an alkaloid compound that when processed gives a psychoactive effect that is reported to be both pleasurable and addictive. Onion Head is not grown commercially in HIP 55-11-8, but the enterprising farmers of Panem in Capafornaces managed to reproduce the growing conditions, and during 3300 developed a roaring trade selling this highly desirable drug to the youth of the Federation and Empire alike. The plant is hard to grow, and the product has a relatively short shelf life, and these issues with supply kept the price high and the profit margins healthy. In December 3300, just days before the end of the 33rd century, Federal President Jasmina Halsey, reportedly under pressure from the Federal Navy, tried to put a stop to this trade, which, in her view, was taking advantage of federal youth and reducing their effectiveness in the workplace. She described onion head as a vile substance, rotting the minds of the young people of the Federation. The Federal Navy began a campaign of aerial bombardment of the onion head fields. This free publicity for the drug increased demand many times over, and the reports of farmers and their families rendered homeless by repeated and indiscriminate bombing helped to make President Halsey one of the least popular federal presidents ever, and create the conditions, when Halsey went missing a few months later, for the Republicans, led by Zachary Hudson, to take over government during the summer of 3301. The bombing of Panem, first with munitions and later with biocides, led to a new strain of onion head being developed by the drug barons, genetically altered to survive in its new home in Tanmark. Lucan onion head had the same mind-altering effects as the Panem variety, and it wasn't long before Halsey had that declared illegal too. Having gained power, President Hudson seemed significantly less interested in curbing the spread of onion head than his predecessor. Both the original Panem onion head and Lucan onion head remained on sale, and by the start of 3302, two new strains of onion head, the alpha and beta strains, started production in Salabra and HIP 112972 respectively. All four strains were by now illegal in the Federation, Empire, and in large parts of the Alliance, but only the lack of supply held back the wider adoption of these popular drugs. The trade in onion head continued as a profitable business with minimal interference from law enforcement for the next 4 years, but the relatives of those bombed by Jasmina Halsey weren't the sort of people to forget. Towards the end of 3305, a terrorist group called the Scythe of Panem created a genetically modified version of the biocide that had been used against the farmers of Panem. Introducing this into a new and highly desired fertilizer, they managed to spread the blight to hundreds of agricultural worlds. The resulting famine caused political instability across the bubble and left a legacy of intermittent crop failures that are likely to last for decades. Finally, after more than 6 years of onion head being a rare commodity, in mid-3307 the Kumo Council under Archon Delane came up with a breakthrough to make onion head available in large quantities to all who want it. It claimed that space dredger crew, the Blue Viper Club, invented the new cultivar, which can be grown in artificial environments and which produces a product that can be stored and transported without a need for specialist refrigerators. A surprisingly muted response led to the new onion head gamma strain being made available in a small number of industrial anarchies for recreational use, although the Kumo crew repeatedly claimed that the drug, which they refer to as Helix, has medicinal uses. Archon Delane must have been as surprised as anyone when the Interstellar Health Organization conducted tests on the gamma strain and found that it does indeed have therapeutic benefits. As a result of this, and without consulting the Kumo Council, pharmaceutical giant Neo Medical Industries decided to start marketing the drug for medicinal use in those independent and alliance systems where it is not banned. They're planning to make the drug available over the counter in about 15% of the industrial systems which have not made it illegal. It was only after Neo Medical had started building the manufacturing lines that Archon Delane decided to use force to stop what he sees as the theft of his product. Attacking Neo-Medical's agent in Hythis, his campaign has been disastrously poorly supported, with the vast majority of combatants supporting the right of Neo-Medical to distribute a drug that, 7 years after it first became available, now has a legitimate use outside of recreation. However, there seems little prospect that either the Emperor or the President who came to power, at least partly due to popular sympathy for the plight of the Onion Head farmers, will declare Onion Head legal anytime soon.